That Nokia.
John!
Yeah.
You weren't supposed to say Nokia. That's the intro song.
Okay.
Nokia's not using it anymore. So
Right.
I'm using it.
Okay.
Nokia's dead.
Mm.
They don't even make bike tires anymore.
Oh, did they ever?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know.
Yeah. Nokia's a tire company.
Wow.
Now they're a retired company.
Oh,
John!
don't see you.
It's you again! I cannot explain to you the blessing it is to come into the studio not knowing who the other guy's going to be.
Yes.
Every single evening we meet, because it's late in the evening now, right? This is a new night news show. This is, what do they call those things, that the late show with Stephen Colbert. Although we not left leaning. We don't do the vaccines and that sort of thing.
No.
Vaccines. Any case, welcome to yet another episode of Brit and Boer. Brit and Boer, as the Americans would say. It's a great joy to have you with us, Ma, and the other viewer, because we are up to 2 viewers. Actually, no, I have something to share with our single viewer.
Like an announcement.
Announcement to make. We have received something. Huh? What do you think of that? Huh?
It's very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. So we got that for getting 4 likes on one of our videos. That's what we got. We received it. I paid for it at Mari's shop, and then she gave it to me, which means I received it. Then I handed it to John, and he received it. So we've received this. So we are very proud of this. It's for getting 4 likes. 4 likes. We have about 20 views on all our videos so far. That's impressive. We also have figured out why we only have 20 views and why nobody subscribes. People watch, on average, 1 video of Brit and Boer, and that sorts all of their problems. It sorts out all of their problems in their life, and they no longer need any of our advice. So we think this is the obvious outcome when we look at our analytics, because we had a look at our analytics sometime. And so we realize that what's happening is we are changing the world so quickly that, look, YouTube's probably going to be redundant one of these days, and we're all just going to sit around and sing Kumbaya and hold hands. So that's the conclusion we reached. Why our channel is wildly successful. So successful that you don't have to sub. Any case, right. On today's agenda, John, the question, what are we looking at today? We're looking at a change of underwear. No, sorry, sorry, I'm holding it upside down. We're looking at a change of climate, also known as climate change, and more specifically, climate alarmism. All right, the cult. I would like to call it a cult of climate alarmism. And I've come to the conclusion that their Messiah is doomsday. Because like the Christian, we're Christian, right? We've often had people proclaim the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ. They've been wrong about it.
Yeah.
But the climate alarmists have a similar trend. They would say, no, the ice caps will be melted by 2010, or worldwide famine would have struck by 2000, or whatever, you know. So it's a similar trend. So they are awaiting their Messiah, who's not it's obviously not well, from our perspective, if it does come, it's fine, whatever. That means Jesus is coming. From their perspective, it's all doom and gloom and yeah. So for me, one of the, strange enough, there are so many problems with climate the climate change theory and climate alarmism more specifically. I believe in climate change. I mean, the climate changes from day to day, right? So, I mean, climate's changed over hundreds of years. We've had mini ice ages. We've had heated times, more warm times. For me, the most disturbing trend about the climate change alarmists is that they seem to latch onto political ideologies that have nothing to do with the climate. That, to me, is a strange phenomenon. So you get Greta Thunberg,
Yes, yeah.
Floating to Israel to save Palestine, right? What has that got to do with melting ice caps?
That's a very incisive question.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, there are other things. Let's not talk about the energy crisis that climate alarmism is bringing about. The obvious. Let's not talk about the increase in crop yields from CO2. These are obvious gains. Let's talk about this political angle.
Okay.
Why this political? What does Black Lives Matter do with energy? Yeah. What is Islam or Palestine or whatever to do with all of these with energy? Why do I have to bow the knee to also want to save the planet?
Yeah. So I wonder, is there a kind of an overarching question that we're trying to answer in relation to climate change?
Yeah, I want to know what is behind it. Is it truly a concern for the planet and its people? Or is it a vehicle for political ideologies?
Okay.
So that's one of the questions. That's probably the main, for me, that's the main question.
Okay. So I suppose in kind of beginning to respond to that question, I ought to really be clear that I am genuinely ignorant of a lot of the science connected with this kind of question. And the reason is, it's never remotely interested me. And the reason it's never remotely interested me is because as a Christian, where you believe that God created the world, the universe, all the planets, including obviously the sun, you believe that he created it essentially for the reasons that he articulates in Scripture. And so you believe that the intended duration of the world before its prophesied destruction is going to come about in the way that it's described. So it's entirely immaterial what happens between now and the point at which he chooses to destroy the earth.
Yeah, so can I just interject there?
Yeah.
That is why this is an interesting topic to me.
Yeah.
So when I go fishing and I see litter on the banks, if I do bank fishing, I don't pick it up to save the planet. I pick it up because the Bible says we must love our neighbor.
Yes.
So I want the next guy to have a good time when he goes fishing. I don't want him to step into a broken bottleneck, right? So that's why I do that. And the consequence of that is also that you also happen to be looking after the ecology then.
Yeah.
Right? But it's always centered around the first and second command, right? Or the two compressed commands.
You mean on the right-hand side? Do you mean thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, the soul, and
Well, both of those.
Okay.
God
or
and
love thy
man.
neighbor as thyself.
Yeah. Well, no. You loving man.
Yeah.
Right? You loving your neighbor. Because God wants you to love him. So the way to do that is to look after the ecology, not for the sake of the ecology, right? So that's exactly. I'm also not going to dive in. I've read Schellenberger, very good, very bright oak.
I don't even know who that is.
Michael Schellenberger. He wrote a book about energy. I can't remember the name of the book. Such a bright. He's a journo, American, I think. Very bright guy. Excellent writer.
Does he have a scientific background?
Yeah, very good writer. I think he's returned to Christianity. He turned away from Christianity. He's returned to Christianity, if I'm not mistaken. But in any case, he wrote a book about energy, and made a very good case for nuclear. But in any case, my point is, this is why I'm concerned about this, or this is why it comes up on my radar. It's not because I'm concerned about the planet, it's because they dragging all sorts of other things into their black hole, right? It sucks. It's like the spiral. It sucks in some political ideologies that have nothing to do with energy or conservation or anything like that.
But I think before we look into that, we need to really go systematically through the whole issue of climate change, because I think we're in danger if we say, well, of course there's climate change, because one day it's 23 degrees, the next day it's 24 degrees. So yeah, that's climate change. Because I don't think anyone really intends that definition.
Yeah, I'm saying it tongue in cheek. Yeah.
Climate change.
Yeah.
So I think what is being alleged is that there is significant long-term. When we say long-term, we're not talking even within the context of their paradigm in terms of in terms of the kind of geological timescale.
Billions and billions of years.
Yeah, but I think what they would mean is what we would call long-term. So within the context of modern human history, there's significant change to the climate that's far beyond seasonal. I think that's what they would be arguing.
Yeah.
And when I was young, I thought that those kinds of claims were pure propaganda, because I was fairly cynical even when I was at school. And so I thought that there was just an agenda to frighten people into justifying legislative controls that would not be justifiable absent a universal threat to the future of humanity.
Existential threat. Yeah. We have to use that term because it's very popular.
Okay.
There's an existential threat to humanity.
Yes, yeah.
That's going to probably push us up, YouTube.
Yeah.
Existential threat. Okay, here we go. That's it.
So
keywords for the day.
So that was my position, that all of the evidence had effectively been confected, by looking selectively at data and choosing bits of data that supported the claim. And so I didn't really think there was any significant climate change going on. And that was genuinely my view. But then I went on an expedition in the year 2000 to Mount Kenya. And it was my intention to attempt to speed climb the north face of, not the north face, sorry, there was another expedition where I intended to climb the north face of something, to climb the Diamond Couloir. Now the Diamond Couloir is a famous ice climb. So on Mount Kenya, there are kind of two twin peaks with just a few meters height difference between the two of them.
Twin Peaks, not the TV show Twin Peaks, but nothing to do with.
It's really got very little to do with that. Yeah.
Okay.
So
that's in a different country.
So on Mount Kenya,
I don't want you to.
No.
Use our viewer.
No. So you've got three peaks. You've got Lenana, which is a trekking peak that anyone can go to. Then you've got two quite difficult to reach peaks known as Nelian and Batiam, which I think are something like 5,188.
Whoa, Nelly, like that.
Yeah, the height's not the big deal. It's the accessibility. And the most exciting way to reach those peaks is to climb up an ice face that's very steep, that brings you to a col that sits between those two peaks. And from that point, it's fairly straightforward to access both those peaks.
I want to challenge that. Yeah. I think a more exciting way would be to jump out of an airplane without a parachute and land smack onto that. I'm not saying you're going to live. It'll be more exciting. It'll make for a really good news item. Okay,
yes,
let's leave it there. Let's say yours is the more exciting way.
Okay, yeah.
I'll humor you.
No.
Okay. All right, so you climb up the steep face.
Yeah, the problem with that is that if it were filmed, you'd have to pixelate out so much, it wouldn't even be watchable.
Look, then you post it to Rumble. Rumble doesn't, they don't
right,
pixelate.
okay, yes,
Rumble has...
It's a good point.
Yeah. Just by the way, I reached out to Rumble to ask if they're willing to give us a plaque. Apparently,
Right.
you have to put your video on Rumble to get a plaque from them. How ridiculous is that?
Can't you just embed a YouTube video on a Rumble account?
I didn't go that far. I slammed down the phone in Vance's, because JD Vance's shares. I spoke to something like
I didn't
that.
realise that. Okay.
Or maybe. Yeah. Any case, yes.
But anyway, I turned up at this at the foot of this mountain in Nanyuki, and
In what?
Nanyuki.
Nanyuki.
is the little town at the foot
I
of
heard
the mountain.
New Key. I was you jump in countries like
No.
nobody business.
No.
Okay.
I found out that it no longer existed. So there was a famous ice climb that had been, there's a glacier, like a hanging glacier.
It's gone.
Yeah.
It's been climate changed.
It's melted, yeah.
Yeah.
And there are photographs of it going back to early 19th century.
Yeah.
And you can see it's thick and it's present. And there are recorded climbs going, I can't remember when, let's say to the 1980s or something like that, okay. 1990s.
I have something to say to that though.
Okay.
Do you think it's possible that can be reversed? So I don't want to get into this.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too much into whether it's true or not. I have a different view. I think
I
you're
can tell
looking.
you no. I don't think it's possible.
Okay, but I think you're looking at the 5-minute chart, and I think I want to step back and look at a bigger chart. However, this is not the question though. The question is not whether climate change is true or not. Let's say it is true. It's true. I was being facetious when I said day to day. I believe in climate change. Absolutely. The question is, however, how comes political ideologies are being dragged into this?
Yeah, but I just wanted to qualify because I don't, you see, I have friends of a scientific disposition.
So I also have friends, John. You know, I don't know why you're always trying to make me look bad on camera. We only have a single viewer. It's not going to impress anyone if you put me down. I have, my mom is a friend of mine.
I wasn't trying to mog you. Okay. What I was really trying to do was be systematic by explaining that I would be naturally inclined to be cynical of any of these claims. But I've experienced them for myself at first hand. Quite significant climactic changes. Because in after Mount Kenya, where I had to just climb the boring way, I went to Ruwenzori, and then I went to Kilimanjaro. And I've been quite intimately associated with Kilimanjaro for the last 26 years, since that time. And from season to season, we've watched the glaciers be depleted to the extent that soon it's going to be quite hard to entice people there to see these beautiful glaciers because they're so denuded. And of course, there have been surveys done of the glaciers on Kilimanjaro for quite a long time. And you can see there's an incontrovertible depletion. And it's irreplaceable absent another ice age, because you can't get that amount of ice up there in the first place. So anyway, just to finish all
I just also want to say, you talking about climbing everything, and you know, today it seems like he's trying to one-up me. I just want to say, I climb out of the bed every morning. I climb steps at my co-working spot. I climb up steps to get to my office. So I do a lot of climbing myself as well. You know, I'm just saying. So I've done some climbing in my life too.
Okay.
I'm just trying to level the
No, I
field
respect
here.
that. I do.
Okay. Sorry, as you were, John.
So yeah, just to finish all of that. So I was forced to acknowledge that there is significant change to the climate. Now, what I would say is warming of the climate. Okay. Because if glaciers that have been there for a very long time are melting, obviously, that indicates that there's warming. Now, some of the friends that I happen to have are very hot on the subject, and they deny that there are any significant changes. These are very smart people, engineers and whatnot. And you know, they begin their argument by saying what I was essentially saying at the beginning of this discussion, which is that I felt that data had been chosen selectively to advance an assertion. I no longer really feel that that is true because of my personal experiences, but that is still their position. So those people would, you know, be a bit disappointed in my concession that there is warming. Now, the fact that there's warming is of very limited relevance to the rest of the discussion about climate change, because I believe that the reason there is warming has infinitely more to do with the activity of the sun than any human activity. I think for us to, as a non-scientist, just looking instinctively at the question, I think for us to significantly warm the planet, we'd have to do far more than we're doing to compete with the effect of the sun. I mean, just think about it. Where of course, the Earth is shunted at, 23 degrees off its center?
Yeah, I think it is, yeah.
And, because
it depends on how it feels like that specific day.
Yeah.
Most days it feels like 23 degrees.
Yeah, so because of that, of course, we have seasons where the bias of the shift is towards the sun and then away from the sun, at certain periods. And so if you think about the difference between winter and summer as a consequence of our orientation towards the sun, that difference is huge. In countries like, say, Bulgaria, in the winter, it can drop to minus 30 degrees centigrade. And in the summer, positive 40 degrees centigrade. So you've got a 70-degree difference simply because of a 23-degree shift with respect to orientation towards the sun. Okay. And yet what is being claimed is that our activity, the anthropogenic, I think they call it, element of
anthropogenic,
global warming.
Yeah, it's a human element, right?
Yeah, might raise temperatures by a degree or a degree and a half. I don't know exactly what they're claiming at the moment. So if you imagine the concentration of humans in a country of average population density, if everyone were asked to do their best to heat the planet, so to bring all their cows out and feed them as much rubbish as possible and refined carbohydrates that gave them as much flatulence as possible, and they all encouraged their cows to flatulate, if that's the correct declension of the whatever you call it. So with all the cows flatulating and getting all their children to flatulate as well, and keeping their car turned on all day long and turning all their appliances on in the house. And then they measured the temperature in, say, the center away from all of those population masses. I don't think that you would notice an increase in temperature of even 0.01 degree. Whereas if, say, it was a cloudy day and then later it wasn't cloudy, I think you would notice a difference in temperature of maybe 5 or 6 degrees. So what the climate can do effortlessly. And then if you look at like our ability to influence weather by, I don't know, scattering silver iodide crystals in the sky and cloud seeding, and all of that is just a simulation of what happens anyway. And the kind of, I don't know what causes convection currents, whether it's kind of irregular heating based on, magma movements under the surface.
That sounds very technical. I just press a button on the convection oven and there's stuff. I don't know what you do, but in any case.
But I mean, you see all these kind of natural processes that are going on. Like where volcanoes happen and what is causing all of that. These things, and if a volcano erupts, the effect it has on carbon emissions is infinitely greater, to my understanding, than telling everyone who lives in New York to keep their cars turned on for 24 hours.
John, I just want to interrupt again and say this is why I do only a 5K run in the morning, not a 10K. Because I believe I'm doing my part to not overheat the planet.
Okay,
I'm actually considering pulling back on the 5K, just sitting on a couch and eating chips and watching Netflix, just as a way to kind of cool down the planet. You know? So I'm just saying, I don't want our viewer to think that we are anti-climate. We are doing our bit as well. Yes. So I agree with you.
Yeah.
However,
so I just want to be clear. I'm totally ignorant of the science, but just instinct and common sense tells me that it would take an awful lot
for
heat the planet.
for the anthropogenic element
Yes,
to
yes.
compete
Yes.
with nature itself.
But of course, I should also declare a bias, and that is that as a Christian, you believe the Bible, and it is prophesied that the sun will burn people at the end, and they'll curse God because of the sun.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
So we know,
Which they worship,
yeah.
ironically.
So we know that it is prophesied that global temperatures will escalate. And so it's inevitable, unfortunately.
Or fortunately, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah. So from my perspective, there's not really much that it's worth doing about it. However, I care a lot about the ecology, but not because I think we can affect climate change by what we do, simply because, we're designed with a kind of an aesthetic appreciation of our environment.
Well, we're supposed to have that,
Well, yeah. And that has a pragmatic function.
Yeah.
You know, like when you're walking along the beach and you see something that looks out of place or ugly and you pick it up, well, your aesthetics are disturbed. Your sense of aesthetics is disturbed by seeing that litter on the beach.
Absolutely, yeah.
So of course you want to pick it up and get rid of it. But of course, the reason it jars with us is because that ought not to be there. And why ought it not to be there? Because, for example, if it's like from a 6-pack of beer, I don't know if they still do them, where fish can get stuck in them, or if it's a bottle, a child can step on it. So the two go together. So I simply have an aesthetic appreciation of the beauty of nature, and that's why I don't want windmills scarring our horizon, or rubbish. And when I walk through a city, I don't want to be, coughing up black stuff out of my lungs because there's too much, environmental pollution. So I don't think you need to worry about the, long-term effect on the planet of these allegedly harmful actions when common sense will already do the job of restricting damage to the environment.
I want to say Christian common sense. Again, I just want to go back to my pre-Christian days. And I used to live like a pig, and I couldn't care.
Yeah.
And it was by reading the Bible, by understanding the dynamic between creator and created, and the second commandment, which is the same as the first, that's when I started understanding, oh no, you're not supposed to live like a pig. You're not a pig, firstly. You're imago Dei, right?
Yeah.
But the same is true for other people.
Yes.
Now, we were created in the image of God, but it seems some of us are bent into the shape of Satan as we go along. And so we need God to reclaim us, right? But so for me, one of the things, I'm still, just by the way, on the turbines, I still don't know where I stand on that. Because I do love good architecture. Right, and I like amazing human feats, not amazing human feats, right? So I can appreciate amazing engineering. What is that bagger something that mining machine? That to me is insane, right? That humans could actually build a thing like that. Yeah. And the turbines. Where do you stand with that? It's an amazing feat of engineering. It's pretty cool, but it's also, like you said, it litters the skyline. Yeah. Yeah, it litters the skyline. You've got these things all freaking over where we live now. Yeah. And the efficacy is debatable. That to me is where the tire hits the tars. Waar die takkie die teer strike is where these things, their efficacy is highly debatable. So now, the moment I start connecting those, there's a bitter taste in my mouth when I look at them. Because not only are they all over, but it seems to be a farce as well. And so, any case, I just wanted to chuck out the 2 cents there.
And I think that far more could be achieved to reduce our consumption by upgrading our culture than by tinkering around with these little configurations of exactly how the energy is produced. Yeah. So I think generally modern Western humanity is so wasteful. And I don't think it really kind of gives them any significant advantage in terms of their overall quality of life. And when you look at the carbon footprint per person of a continent like Africa, and you compare it with Europe, I don't know what the ratio is, but I'd estimate it's something like 1/10 in Africa of what it is in Europe. And that's simply because they don't have a lot of spare money to spend on fancy things, do you know? And a far smaller percentage of people own vehicles. But then when you look at the physiological effects of that, so you take your modal African, within Africa, living the modal life, and he doesn't possess a car. And if you analyze his body, he will have much lower obesity likelihood, risk of cancer and diabetes and all this kind of thing. He's required to walk because he doesn't have a car. Now, obviously, I wouldn't want to live in a country where the government decided to compel us to not use cars like they're trying to do in Europe. You know, with their 15-minute city ideas, where they want everyone riding bicycles and only going to places kind of within 15 minutes of where they live. If that is compelled, I think that's thoroughly evil and should be resisted. However, if our culture were such that we learnt to appreciate our local environment, like what grows in this environment, it could be an emergency. So
Yeah, take it.
Sorry about that. Do you remember what I was saying?
I think we were talking about
I do remember, sorry.
ketogenesis. Oh, no, sorry. I forgot.
Okay. So, yeah, so I was talking about how, of course, I would want to live in a country where you had the freedom to make bad decisions and the government didn't compel you to do the right thing. But at the same time, I would like to live in a country where people voluntarily looked at the wisdom of some of the choices that they make on a daily basis, or even things they do, not even because of choices they've made, but because of habits that they've kind of unconsciously developed, simply because of the direction that society has taken, often as a consequence of pressure from the markets to shape cultural norms and behaviors in a way that benefits, big corporations. So, for example, when we choose to get in a car, South Africa is a very difficult one because I would advocate that everyone should get in a car, even to go to the local shop, because otherwise you're going to get killed. But let's not talk about South Africa. Let's talk about a country where there is not such a high level of persecution against ordinary law-abiding people. So, for example, the UK. Well, actually,
that's changing very quickly as well.
It's a different kind of persecution. Yeah, that's kind of.
Let's pretend there's a country on Mars.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so in a normal country where you don't have political and religious persecution against people, you don't have physical persecution because a whole demographic of that society is alleged to have stolen the resources of these people's grandparents or whatnot. So if people were educated to understand the importance of appreciating their local environment, and it simply boils down to thou shalt not covet, do you know? Like in the old days, I'm talking about the very old days, hundreds of years ago, we didn't have the option to import. It was only kind of decadent, super wealthy people that imported spices from India or tea from China, whatever. They had to learn to enjoy what their local environment produced.
Mm.
And so they were very efficient. But then the rich coveted what they didn't have, fancy spices from India, for example. And so then started getting ships to sail across oceans at the loss of human life in storms on the way, and all this extreme cost simply to enhance their life, to give them access to things that, if you like, in an extremely simplistic way, like nature never intended that they should have access to. Okay. Now,
are we anti KFC then?
well, I would say I would like to be able to live in a way that was politely and constructively anti anything that didn't confer a benefit on the person. And I would say on those grounds, I would be anti-KFC.
This is the last episode. Brit Boer has just died. Thank you very much for tuning in. It was, I don't know, I'm going to need some time to... I mean, the Colonel and I have had a relationship for about at least 40 years.
Yeah.
And you just come into my life,
Yeah.
40 years I've known the Colonel.
No.
Not Colonel Chris Wyatt,
Yes.
although he's also a cool colonel. Colonel Holland Sanders is a close friend of mine.
Yeah.
And I need a safe space right now.
Yeah.
I think after this, I'm going to have to go get myself a Streetwise 5.
But
Okay, yes.
But the thing is, I don't think these things shouldn't exist. I just think that we should have a culture that essentially says, oh, it's the weekend, I'm feeling a bit naughty, let's go and get a KFC as a treat. Do you know what I mean? Not, oh, I can't be bothered to cook, let me just use my credit card to go and buy a KFC that I can't really afford.
So what you're saying is what's become the norm should have actually been a treat.
Yes.
What you're doing now, or what society is doing, is we're having soft serve ice cream every night,
Yeah.
and every now and then a salad to make up for our conscience
Yeah.
sake, where we should be having salads and having an ice cream every now and then.
Yeah.
So you don't hate the Colonel.
No. No.
Man, I thought this was the end of Brit Boer.
No. And the thing is, like with McDonald's, you know.
No, McDonald sucks.
Yeah, but
seriously.
But
no.
I can tell you, my life depends on McDonald's existing.
Yeah.
Because when I was cycling across America, I didn't know where I was. It was in the year 2000, before Google Maps, and I didn't even have a mobile phone with data or anything like that. So I was just using a paper map. And when I got into any new town, I'd been doing like on average 240 kilometers a day. I don't know how many calories that is, but let's just say it's about 4,000 or 5,000 calories. I just needed calories from any source I could find. And when I was cycling into a new town, I had no idea where to go.
But you'd see the golden arch.
Exactly. And I loved the fact that there was this big mast up there on the horizon with that golden M. And I would just divert to it, and I knew what to order, like 8 cheeseburgers, do you know? And I knew that this was not sustainable in my normal lifestyle. I wouldn't be able to eat like that. I'd become ridiculously unhealthy. But for 3 weeks on a 3,148 mile journey, I knew that it would be okay to sustain me with the calories that I needed. So of course I ate terribly for those 3 weeks, drinking Gatorade, eating McDonald's, having Nutella, do you know? Yeah, literally like half a jar of Nutella a day.
So that's what I need to do, just eat Nutella. I need to cycle everywhere.
Well, yeah, but the point I'm making is...
If I cycle, hang on, if I cycle 3 blocks to work, can I have a jar of Nutella?
No.
Damn it!
No.
Okay, all right, sorry, yeah.
But do you see the point I'm making?
Yeah.
That was an unusual situation where I was so grateful that these things which, if used habitually, would be really unhealthy.
I'd call you Fat John.
Yeah.
Big, kick-ass name, Fat
right.
John.
So look, I'm far from anti-capitalist, but what I think has happened is that there has been an unhealthily close relationship between big capital and legislatures. And those legislatures, remember, they don't just make rules that tilt playing fields in favor of big business and unhealthy populations, but they also make laws that determine the content of educational syllabuses or syllabi or whatever.
Syllabi.
Yeah. Wouldn't I be AE rather than a little I? So is it not?
I just like the word syllabi.
Yeah, okay.
It's another keyword, bi.
Yeah. So
Gender. Sorry,
yeah.
it's more keywords.
Okay. So but you get my point, that I don't want to compel anybody. Yeah, I'm not in a position to compel anyone. I don't want anyone to be compelled by anybody, but I think it would be fantastic if people could look at the way they're living and could audit it and realize, hang on, some of the habits that we have developed are not in our interest, and we didn't choose them deliberately. We didn't follow a kind of a process of logical reasoning and choose these habits. We unconsciously imbibed certain cultural values that were injected into society's consciousness by vested interests.
Consci.
Yeah, okay, by vested interests. And we need to review our habits, our normal behaviors, and question which of those are advantageous. And I think if people did that, then I don't think they would be using their vehicles so much. I think, for example, bicycle technology is some of the most efficient transportational technology mankind has ever invented. It's extraordinary.
Steve Jobs actually said it was the bicycle. You bring the bicycle into the equation, it changes everything.
Yeah.
When he looked at efficiency.
Yeah. I'm such a huge fan
of Steve Jobs.
Of bicycles. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just because of the logic and the efficiency of that technology and the accessibility. You know, it's not $100,000 to do something that only 0.1% of the population can do. Pretty much anyone in the world could have the ambition of owning a bicycle. And if you imagine if everyone...
Some people have... I'm not saying, 5. Some people have 5 bicycles hanging against the wall. And then there's another one as well.
5. Yeah, so 6.
But I'm not saying this, because this is a professional studio, so why would there be bikes hanging in?
Yeah, so 6
so
here,
stupid.
And 2 were stolen in the last 2
Not
months.
yet. In someone's garage.
Yeah.
And 2 were stolen as well. So, in someone's from, not necessarily here, but in any case.
Yeah. So, so I think pretty much anyone in the world could aspire to own a bicycle. That would be kind of easily within reach, you know, if they worked hard for a couple of years or whatever.
Yeah, and if they didn't live in a place where your bicycle gets stolen and you get smacked with stones and things,
That's true. Threatened with knives.
Then it makes sense to ride a bicycle.
That is true.
Currently, our milieu, how do you say it in English?
Well, in English, it depends. That's such an interesting question, because in English, you are kind of bashful about how you say it, because you don't want to say milieu.
Milieu.
Because then that's only kind of accessible to people who speak a little bit of French. Schoolboy French. But I think we would try not to be too ostentatious in terms of having a really accurate pronunciation. So we wouldn't really say milieu. We'd say milieu.
Milieu.
Yeah.
Milieu.
Yeah.
In Afrikaans is milieu.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Milieu.
But I mean...
Which is French.
Yeah.
Milieu. And our current milieu.
Yeah.
Even the word ostentations is very ostentatious to some people, and they might require a little bit of explanation as you say in English language.
C'était vachement belle explanation. The way you pronounced that word, that's very nice.
I'm single.
Yeah. But do you see what I did there? I don't know if you noticed what I did.
Yeah, of
I didn't
course.
say
I
it was
noticed.
tellement belle. I said vachement, which is showing off because only the French say vachement.
Vachement.
Technically, it means cowly because vache is a cow and mont is like lit. So, but when I was a child, I went to France and I noticed that the little boys there said it's vachement. Ah, c'est vachement belle.
Oh.
Yeah. So anyway,
And this is still on topic because cows flatulate, and
yes,
that
it
causes,
is. Yeah.
causes
Yes.
climate change.
And could become an adjective for behavior, human behavior that tends towards disrespecting the environment. You could say that's a cowly way of doing it. Yeah. But anyway, going back to the point that I was trying to make, which was, what was it?
If you write in, right, this is part of a contest we're running, write in and remind us of what we're talking about, and you could win a nice thing, not from us. You'd have to enter another competition, and then you'll stand a chance of winning something. But write to us in any case. Our single viewer and Ma.
But I remember what we were talking about, and it was the idea of kind of reviewing your habits.
Yes.
Like what you eat, what you do with your time, how you do what you do, and questioning how did you acquire those habits? Was it from a rational process, or was it unconsciously imbibed, or kind of emulated or copied? Technically, I think everyone should do that. And I think if that were done, you would find drastic changes in people's behaviors that far outweighed anything that legislation could achieve by putting caps and SDGs and all that kind of thing. So, for example, you would have an excluding countries
SDGs, not STDs.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. Okay. For example, in a country like the UK, where pretty much everyone could have a bicycle in their house, if the weather were good, they'd think, well, why not cycle to work?
I would just be concerned. So for me, the main concern if I were in the UK is if I accidentally cycle into someone who's on his prayer mat.
Oh,
it's that time of the day, one of the 3 times of the day that, or was it?
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
and I just So I'm just saying that would be my main concern. In South Africa, my main concern is receiving a rock to the head.
Oh yes.
And in that country, it would be cycling into a guy who's
in some ways
who's prostrating himself on the
ground
in some random area praying on a mat.
But the risks are different to what you described because they increase in the sense that it's 5 times a day, not 3 times. But they decrease in the sense that they don't do it on the roads.
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh,
so
that's not what I saw in that one video. Oh, there wasn't a road though. There was just like a pathway, I suppose. Whatever. Okay. I digress. Is that the word? Digress.
Yes, that's right.
Ek is van die pad af.
So, but do you get the point of where I'm going?
Absolutely, yeah.
That governments make oppressive legislation to compel people to not do what governments are saying they shouldn't do. And yet governments have for so many years made legislation that favors modes of lifestyle that were conducive to exacerbating the problem that governments claim that people are responsible for. So I mean, and they've made legislation and they've omitted to make legislation that would have the contrary effect. So, for example, and so it's blatantly obvious, if the government wants people to use their bicycles more and their cars less, then they'd simply kind of run an algorithm to work out, like insurance companies do, like Vitality in South Africa, for example, to work out the...
Discovery.
Sorry, that's what I meant, yeah. To work out the reduction in risk and therefore cost to the National Health Service of not being obese. And to work out what a person would need to do in their normal week to mitigate against becoming obese. So, for example, if a person were to cycle to work instead of using their car, they could get certain credits that would translate into a reduction in their taxes, for example. And that reduction could be half the estimated projected cost to the NHS of them being as unhealthy as they would be if they didn't engage in those behaviours that brought them credits, for example. So you win to the same extent, both as a citizen and as the country whose taxes you'd be relying on for services that you don't pay for yourself.
However, the problem in South Africa is you'd also need to keep your people safe. And who wants to do that? That's a lot of work, John. You'd actually have to train your police force and keep order, law and order. And if you do that, the Tsotsis can't roam freely. And, and then, you've got these mafia setups in every sphere of South African life that won't be making the money and feeding it up to the guys in charge. So what you're asking is really, I think it's a little bit out of scope.
For South Africa, I agree. The only way you could solve the health crisis in South Africa amongst the what shall we say, the
bourgeoisie.
Okay, yeah, let's put
middle
it that way.
class.
Yeah, okay, the middle class health crisis in South Africa.
Because it is a middle class health crisis, right?
It is, yeah. The only way you could solve that, or at least the only way you could create a foundation from which the people could solve it themselves, would be if, for example, the government made the decision that they no longer want crime, permitted people to defend themselves in ways that are acceptable in more civilized countries, and then worked with their allies to bring in, let's say, special forces who need the training to come. And so just to give you a scenario, you get someone who looks like a tourist to walk along the beach between the next bay along and this bay. And if the person is carrying a bag, smiling and looking like a tourist, I would say there's probably about a 30% chance on any given occasion that they're going to be attacked. So you simply put snipers in the sand dunes, have a 5-year sunset clause where you permit extrajudicial killings accompanied with evidence, and you simply announce to the people, listen, this is not what we want long term. It's only going to happen for 5 years, but for 5 years we're going to have a beyond zero toleration policy towards violent crime. If you are identified in the process of engaging in a violent attack against somebody, there will not be a trial, there will not be an arrest, charges,
execution.
Arraignment. Yeah, it will be an extrajudicial killing. And we're sorry about that, but the situation has become so out of control that this is what the people want. Of course, you consult the people beforehand, you explain the implications, and then
you tell some mothers that their children are they're probably going to get killed.
That's right, yeah.
That's unfortunate. You should have raised him better, or his dad shouldn't have been a drunkard.
And then you get these people who are trained with intelligence, surveillance, target acquisition, and reconnaissance, with all their special optics and recording equipment, and they're there in the sand dunes as though they're in the middle of some Arab desert or something, doing some kind of observations of something they're going to call a strike on. And then they are filming the whole thing. You've got your fake tourist there, and then these people come out the moment that knife is visible and photographed, bang, shot through the head, on the ground. You film it all, you pass that on to the news media, and that's put all over the news. And so
you deal with the bleeding heart liberals, and then that's it. Your crime drops drastically.
Yes, yeah.
And then you can cycle.
That's it.
Without fear of being persecuted.
That's the thing. Then South Africans wouldn't fear going out at night because they would know. And then you again, you empower people to defend themselves. So a lot of South Africans are very competent, safe users of weapons. And if they're attacked violently, you give them permission to use lethal force. And you just see how it goes for one parliamentary term, which I'm guessing is probably about 5 years in South Africa.
I don't know.
Yeah.
No idea.
And at the end of that, you ask the people, have we been overly draconian and destroyed the social fabric of this country even further? Or do you now feel that you can just constantly go out and walk in the street? I heard several weeks ago that one young lady made the mistake of going out after dark about 2.5 kilometers from here, and was raped by 7 men in the same evening. Yeah. So, I mean, after something like that, and again.
But I feel like I just want to jump in there and say, what about the rights of those 7 rapists? I think you're being unfair, John, towards those rapists.
Yeah.
I mean, what about their human rights?
Yeah, because maybe they were denied.
Because, I mean, just you saying this now are exposing these. They're obviously victims of circumstance, right? So you're exposing 7 people to scrutiny that I don't think they should be exposed. I think they should be allowed their human rights. I really do think so.
Yeah, and
it's a pity about the lady. I mean, it's a pity.
Yeah,
but these things happen.
And
what was she doing?
Yeah,
what was she doing
after dark?
After dark. Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
She should be home.
Yeah.
And if she'd been wearing something like a burqa, she might not have been attractive to these men, so she might have even been safe, even if she didn't have an adult male accompanying her.
But I've seen some of those burqa wearing people with seriously beautiful eyes.
Yeah.
Beautiful eyes.
But don't you get the ones where you also can get a little net behind?
I don't know.
Yeah, I thought so.
I'd imagine you walk into things if you wear a net in front of your eyes.
But I mean, on a serious note, there are 2 solutions. One is that you bring in Sharia law and you require all women to be accompanied by an adult male, like their brother or father or husband, and get them to wear burqas so that they're not so attractive to rapists. That is one option. Or the other option is you have a zero toleration policy towards violent crime and allow citizens, law-abiding citizens who don't have criminal records to defend themselves.
Yeah, the problem I have with the Sharia law is, and I've heard some of these Muslim apologists speak along those lines, is that it causes the whole victim mentality among the men. Oh, we couldn't control ourselves with that. I mean, it's weak, right? It's weak. So there's a woman now, you have to rape her just because she's not. Have you considered the alternative of turning away, of looking the other? That's the problem I have with Sharia law. I prefer the other way of let's deal with the perps.
Yeah.
Let's deal with the perps here. Let's shoot them. Yeah. Let's hang them in town square.
Yeah.
In fact, bring your children. This is what they used to do in the old days, right?
Yes.
They used to hang people in the town square, not just so that the adults could see it, but so that the children could see that as well. Don't grow up to be a tsotsi, because that's what happens to a tsotsi, right? And so what you just told me is shocking. It literally, that sort of thing just it infuriates me to hear that sort of thing. Because I was facetious in saying they're the victim, but this is how they will be treated. You get the wrong people on their side in law, and they will say, "Oh, shame, these 7 guys are the victims of circumstance." Which brings us back to why we should have a talk about psychology and its effect. But in any case, sorry, you were still. We've lost the plot again. Can you remember what it was?
I can remember.
Okay, there we go.
So we were talking about global warming. We were talking about whether or not there's an anthropogenic element.
Sorry, do you have advertisers yet or not?
No.
This would be a great time to kind of just go to an ad break, I think. We don't have advertisers yet, do we?
No.
Nothing.
No.
Okay, sorry, as you anthropogenic.
Okay,
Sorry.
yeah.
Yes, okay.
So we're talking about global warming. We're talking about whether there's an anthropogenic element, and my view was even if there is, it's so extremely small compared to things
Insignificant.
well outside our control. And of course, there's the obvious discussion about why bother to legislate in a country like the UK with only 60 million people and a little tiny piece of land that only is even allegedly responsible for 1% of all the world's global warming. Why crash an economy in a relatively law-abiding country like that, just to kind of prove a point?
And I want to add, it's moving backwards, right? So what often happens is if you're forward thinking is you solve the problem. You don't remove what you think is a problem. So you take the existing ecosystem or the existing structure and now something comes out. Oh, there's a problem here. Oh, well, no, let's close the whole thing. Close it down. No, that's not how you solve problems. No. This is not how that's not how the car was born, right?
Yeah.
It's not, oh, well, I guess I guess we can't, the carburetor's not working. No, well, just put a pin in there or something. Oh, there we go. It's working now.
Yeah.
Next step. What's the next step? You solve problems as you go. It's almost like we're going backwards. They're forcing us to go back to living in the wild. And it solves nothing. Engineering, we have amazing minds, right? We have some amazing engineers who can solve problems as we go.
Yeah.
But you don't take them back 100 years to try and, I don't understand the thinking behind all of this. In any case, sorry.
Yeah, and there doesn't need to be compulsion. I think there's a big misunderstanding of human psychology by legislators.
Yeah.
Or
not. It might be malicious, but in any case. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I think there's a good comprehension of human psychology by vested interests, but a very poor comprehension of human psychology by legislators. And so, if you force people to do things, they often resent it and want to do the thing that they're told they're not allowed to do. But if you incentivize people to change their behaviors and are respectful towards them, and you just plainly make the arguments, then I think people would be inclined to, we're all fallen and sinful and weak and lazy, but I think if you created incentives to do the right thing, I think you could make significant changes to culture that would impact on ecology and pollution and all that kind of thing, without having to force anyone or be punitive towards anyone. So my position on global warming is that I think it's happening. I don't think humans are causing it. I think it's inevitable because as an old-fashioned Christian, it's prophesied. But that the things that we are being compelled to do, a lot of those things we should even be aspiring to achieve ourselves. So, I mean, when, for example, you look at essays written by the former, Prime Minister of some Scandinavian country, who were saying that in the year 2030, we will own nothing and we'll be happy.
Schwab.
Well, he, I think, kind of was...
He was a German.
She was his protege.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it Charles Schwab or what?
Oh, I thought you were Thinking of Klaus.
Oh, Klaus Schwab.
Yeah, the kind of
German people.
Yeah, the kind of Bond villain.
Yeah.
I just really wish that when they filmed him, he was sitting behind a desk with a cat.
With a cat.
Yes.
Good day, Mr. Bond.
Yeah. I mean,
you will own nothing by 2030.
Yeah. I would love that. Do you know?
Oh, it'd be so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a German accent though.
Yes, it is.
Good day, Mr. Bond.
Yeah.
You will own nothing by the year 2030. Yeah.
It was so disappointing when he was removed for, some alleged...
Bring back Klaus.
Impropriety.
Bring back Klaus. He's such a cool villain.
Yeah. But yeah, so this lady, this ideologically motivated lady, was really advocating for a society where you no longer own anything, and you stay in a property you don't own, and you use things on a daily basis that you don't own. Now,
Was she speaking of Russia?
so of course she's speaking about Europe, but my point is, I would hate to be compelled to live under those circumstances. I want to be able to own property. I want to be able to own my own stuff. But at the same time, if people chose of their own volition and by looking critically at how they're living, if they chose to be more minimalist in terms of owning less stuff, being more careful about choosing what they buy, not just buying it because you've got some credit left on your card balanced, and just because it looks nice, but actually going home and thinking, I wonder if I should buy that. I'm going to delay a week before I buy it. And if after a week still think it's a good idea, I'll go for it. Or a month or whatever.
It's obviously not KFC. You can't delay.
No,
you have to go now. But anyways.
No. But do you get my point? That if people could be encouraged and incentivized to make decisions that were not only in their interest, but in society's mutual interest. So for example, sugar. Sugar is known to be a big killer, okay, in terms of diabetes and heart disease and various other diseases.
Yeah, I've always said I don't understand why they have warnings on cigarette packs, but they don't have warnings on sugar packs.
That's it.
It boggles my mind.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if, for example, people could voluntarily subscribe to systems where they recorded their meal consumption, okay? But it's voluntary, so you don't have to do it. You can carry on living the way you want to. But then when you see that your friend has just lost 20 kilograms and they're looking more vibrant and lively.
6 kilos in my case.
Yeah,
Seven
yeah.
kilos.
It has the effect of inspiring people.
15 to go.
And so they'd say, well, what are you doing? And the person would say, I just got this app. I record my meals. I record my exercise. I get credits.
My net diary.
Yeah. I get reductions on my taxes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then people would say, oh, well, it's a win-win.
Yeah, that's the whole discovery model. Discovery model.
That's it.
You get points for doing
That's it.
certain things.
And think about it. Discovery is driven by desire to increase their profit. They're not driven to do things out of the goodness of their heart.
No.
So this doesn't have to depend on human nature not being fallible. Do you know? It can be driven by the market.
By greed. Let greed drive your good ideas.
Yes.
Man. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. But do you see what I mean? They identify that if they've got a lot of people paying a premium of whatever, I don't know how much is a discovery
I
premium.
don't know.
But let's just say it's 5,000.
15 million, whatever.
Let's say it's 5,000 rands a month, okay? And a person can reduce that to 4,000 by going for a 5K run 3 times a week. I don't know what the criteria are, but going for a 5K run 3 times a week, going to the gym once a week, and then it drops to 4,000. Then they win because now they've got someone who poses virtually no risk in terms of making a claim, unless an accident happens, and they're still getting 80% of what they would be getting. And then the user wins because now they're not fat anymore and they're healthy and they're enjoying their life and achieving so much more. And so that kind of model of incentivizing...
Gamification, that's what it's called in the industry.
Oh, okay.
Gamification. Well, look, I work for a tech company, so that's what we always try to look for a gamified angle. That's a good app. Look, I'll give you an example. I use a specific petrol station because I get points there. And so I've got half a tank of petrol so far waiting for me for free.
Right.
That's gamification. They give me a card. I use their petrol station. I get points. Those points convert to cash in one because they tied with another retailer as well. So I get every now and then I get a free pork chop, and I've got a half a tank of petrol waiting for me. It's gamification. I win, they win.
Yeah.
I always put in petrol there. They give me a few because I have to do petrol, right?
Yeah.
I can't suck petrol out of thin air.
Yeah. But I really like the logic of incentivizing good decisions.
rather than compelling them.
Yeah, I mean, you if governments was clever, they'd gamify things, but they're not. They're lazy.
Yeah.
People working for government, they want to take short. I'm generalizing, probably correctly as well.
Yeah.
They want to take shortcuts to what benefits them first.
Yeah.
That, in South Africa, that's certainly definitely the case, right? You look at South African government currently, the ANC. From where I'm standing, it looks like these guys are motivated by greed. And again, we don't have a problem if you motivated by greed. They're motivated by greed. We don't have a problem if they're motivated by greed, but there's no benefit for their people, which is going to turn out to their detriment.
Yeah.
This is like the domses grond.
Yeah.
In any case.
Yeah, because they're incredibly modest in this country, politicians, because they're happy to be at the top of a pile that's very low. Other politicians want their country to be great, so that they can be on top of something great.
Something great, yeah. No, these oaks seem to be, they burn down everything and so they can rule over the ashes. I think Sun Tzu said that. So you get some governments or some leaders who are like that. They burn down everything so they can rule over the ashes. Yeah. So it looks like they're cool, but they're actually just a banana republic type level thing.
Yeah. I wonder to whom it looks like they're cool, really.
To themselves, I suppose.
Yeah. So just to kind of conclude all of that, whether or not there is global warming.
Yeah. See what you did there?
Yeah.
Hey, if you subscribe now, you'll get more clever quips from John.
Okay. So whether or not there is global warming, whether or not humans contribute to global warming, the solution should be the same, which is that governments start legislating intelligently. They
gamify, guys.
Yeah,
gamify.
They access the same kind of facilities that vested interests use to enhance their profit. If government had the objective of enhancing the quality of life of their citizens and themselves within their own societies, and started brainstorming ways of leveraging all of the tools that the business world use to enhance their profits, they would create a win-win situation for everybody. They would just naturally reduce emissions. They would naturally enhance the ecology. They would naturally reduce cost to the National Health Service, reduce rates of depression and societal breakdown and all these kinds of things. And there would be no compulsion involved. You see, everyone would become happier and more successful. You would define success differently, because success now might, in some people's minds, be having lots of cars and big houses and lots of junk listed around your house.
Because that's what makes you happy in life. Yeah. You ask some of the richest people in the world, they are super happy. No troubles, no family troubles at all.
Yeah.
They have all the money in the world. They are super happy.
But you see, I think if you expose ordinary people to healthy minds, to the logic that emanates from healthy minds, I think within a generation, you will fix this extreme distortion we have in the overdeveloped West of interpreting hyper-consumption as a metric for success and happiness. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. I don't think it would really take much. I think if you expose people to the right material and provide a few role models, you kind of promote the work and prominence of a few role models that are successful in those terms, like healthy relationships and fairly simple, productive lives, absence of kind of clutter and junk and hyper-consumerism. I think there will be a shift towards aspiring for success in metrics that genuinely translate into success and happiness.
I'm reading Christianity and Liberalism by J. Gresham Machen.
Oh, yes.
And he speaks of, this was, I think, 100 years ago? And he's in your camp, I think, right? He's a pedo, he was a pedo Baptist.
Yeah,
right?
I've had to read some of his work when I was studying theology.
Super brilliant thinker. And he at that stage, this is I think 100 years ago, he's already said that you can see in society that we are dumber. And you see it probably most visibly in lack of poetry and art.
Yeah.
You know? So my point is, it seems as if back in the day, that was a good life. That was considered a successful life, as if you could have appreciation for that sort of thing as well.
Yeah.
Not just how many cars you... I mean, I look at these, some of these influencers, and I look at their lives and I'm like, you guys are empty buckets, trying to fill, trying to satiate other people. I mean, it's just empty. No. This is a guy with all of these supercars in his driveway, a snotkop lighty, and I'm supposed to consider you a hero. What are you absolutely out of your mind? And there's a lack of thinking. There's a lack of thinking, and you can see it. That's what Machen says. Is you can see it in the arts. You can see it in the lack of art. So
And you know, on that point, I mean, even to not be too kind of ethereal and anti-materialist, I genuinely believe I've derived more joy and satisfaction from drifting round corners in the snow in the Bulgarian winter in my £5,000, like 15-year-old Subaru Impreza WRX than these exhibitionists have in their fancy Bugattis.
I just want to touch on the whole drifting thing, John.
Yeah.
So we all know,
Yeah.
the sport of drifting.
Okay.
It's like the gay version of synchronized swimming, right? So you didn't partake in the actual sport of drifting.
No, I didn't even know it was a sport. No, but the Subaru Impreza WRX.
Yes.
It's an absolutely superb vehicle.
Those are good vehicles.
Yeah.
The Japs.
Yeah.
The Jap don't make no crap.
No.
They make really good vehicles.
It's
I mean, I would know. I drive a Jimny.
Yeah.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah. But you see, some of those roads in winter are totally deserted in Bulgaria because most vehicles can't survive on them. And so if you go with, I'm not talking about an irresponsible level of speed, but with a little bit more than the man on the Clapham bus would use going around that corner.
Man on the Clapham bus. I still want to meet this man on the Clapham bus.
Yes, yeah.
This is like the Florida man to me. It's a mysterious being. But in any case,
one day I think you'll meet one.
Oh, Florida man. I'm hoping to become one.
Yeah, but you see that sport that you describe of drifting.
Yeah, gay synchronized swimming for motorsport.
Yeah, yeah. No, so
of motorsport.
Yeah, so that the sport versus the real thing of genuinely needing to drift around corners to remain stable at speed is like it's like the equivalent to when instead of a man working hard, digging a ditch in his back garden and getting nice strong musculature, a person waxes their chest, gets a fake tan, goes to the gym, injects themselves with testosterone.
When you just start speaking, when you just speak like it, it's kind of like, do they understand how ludicrous it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Be that as it may.
So I'm talking about the real thing. Yeah. So literally, with a £5,000 investment in a 15-year-old car, I think you can actually have much more fun and improve your skills to a greater extent than buying a $250,000 Bugatti. If you can even get them that cheaply, I don't even know.
And along the same note, I've experienced joy from reading stuff that no Netflix series can give me.
Yeah.
I mean, I've read poetry that absolutely moved me to silence and to almost shock. And I've read novels and things that phenomenal
Yeah.
that you just can't get from certain things that's being fed to you through a tube,
No, it's true.
Tube feeding.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit cheating to listen to an audiobook rather than actually reading the book.
But still.
But you're halfway.
Yeah.
And even like...
Just on that point, I've read 1984 probably twice, and I've listened to the audiobook, and I still preferred the reading. I listened to the audiobook featuring Andrew Garfield. Is it Andrew Garfield, the actor who played Spider-Man? So it was a cast, a special cast that they used to, and I still preferred reading. It was well done.
Yeah.
Really, it was like listening to a movie almost.
Yeah.
But I still preferred reading 1984.
But the reason that I do compromise and actually listen to audiobooks...
Because you have all this climbing to do and drifting.
That's it, yeah.
Because you're a busy man.
Look, I'm not a big believer in multitasking. I think it actually means that you do both things less well. But there are some things which like you're only really using your body for that don't really require your mind.
If you're cycling, you don't need a lot of thinking to turn to breathe and to actually rotate your legs. Right?
Yeah. And so I've, in my time, watched however many Netflix series or films, and you derive a certain amount of satisfaction from them. But looking back, I can still remember going for a run across the Welsh Hills, listening literally to 1984 as an audiobook. This morning I just did like a 40-minute cycle because I didn't have much time before you turned up, and I was listening to...
I'm sorry for turning up.
No, I'm glad you did. I was listening to an audiobook, and I can tell you objectively, I derived more joy from listening to that audiobook than I do from sitting on a sofa watching something on Netflix.
In Mom's basement.
Yeah. And so when you talk about Gresham Machen.
Actually, I check out people's names. So it's a thing.
You pronounce it Gresham.
Yeah, because that's what it is.
Yeah. Okay.
David, if you're watching this, it's Sproul, not Sproul. Rhymes with soul. He said it himself in his classroom. And I went to go check because this whole J thing, the Machen thing, it's been it's been a battle for 500 years, right? So I checked it out. It's J. Gresham. It's a silent H.
Okay.
J. Gresham Machen.
Okay.
That's apparently out of the horse's mouth. I phoned him the other day. No, I didn't really. He's dead.
Okay.
No, I didn't phone.
Yeah. No.
Brand's going to have to cut this out. No.
But so the argument that Gresham Machen is making about how we're being dumbed down back in, when was it? Over 100 years ago.
Yeah, I think the book was written in the early 1900s, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
People in our circles think liberalism. Look, you got to understand what he means by liberalism. So it's just really bad theology, basically, liberal theology, questioning, and I mean even Spurgeon. Spurgeon had this battle. In fact, it's even older. Spurgeon lived 18 something to 1890 something. So he died before the 1900s.
Yeah.
So even in his day, this whole liberal thing was already popping out his head in the Baptist movement.
Yeah.
So in America, Machen was an American, right? So I mean, it's old as the mountains.
Yeah, yeah. Because I kind of think of liberalism as like a form of intellectual syncretism, like where, for example, you don't just take scripture at face value, according to the doctrine of perspicuity, but that you want to syncretize with some other kind of knowledge or values that would normally be in competition with what you read at face value in scripture, and you try to kind of
synchronize.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. So and that produces liberalism. But going back to what he said, I think right now, and this is directly relevant to the issue of alleged anthropogenic global warming. I think right now we have got the greatest threat to the survival of human intelligence than we've ever had in history, and that is artificial intelligence.
And I think it's extremely dangerous and seductive. And I think the rate at which our critical faculties, our logical processes are being eroded is faster right now in the last 3 years than has ever been achieved in the past. The rate of erosion. Yeah.
So, although we're not anti-AI.
Well, this is the thing. I'm not anti-KFC if it's used as a treat. Do you know what I mean?
I feel triggered every now and then. Just thinking about your views of certain things. Any case,
The big problem is we don't give ourselves rules that are in our own best interests. You know, people think of rules as kind of inhibiting progress or joy, but actually rules promote progress and joy. So
it's again, it's the classic case of where do you want to bind yourself? You're going to be bound in any case. Where do you want to be bound? Where do you choose to be bound? If you're going to be bound to a good diet, you're going to be free to run, to walk, to enjoy nature.
Exactly.
If you're going to bind yourself to a bad diet, if you're going to if you're going to free yourself to eat whatever you want, you're going to be bound to arthritis and all sorts of ailments.
I think we can call it like an antagonistic pair.
Yeah.
And so
not like antagonistic apple.
Not
like that.
No.
It's not a fruit that wants to. It's not a pugilistic fruit.
No, because I think they say that one antagonistic apple rots the whole barrel.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, what was I saying before? So we were talking about antagonistic. Freedom and rules. So actually, the thing about rules is that we need rules that apply to every aspect of our decision making throughout our entire lives. And if you encounter something new comes into your life that you are permitted access to, and you simply engage with that before you set up a kind of hierarchy of rules in terms of how you use that and how you allow that to be a new feature of your life, you have a risk of making mistakes and suffering loss. With AI, I think if you don't have very carefully thought out rules for how you engage with it, that risk is extreme. And the devastation that it can cause to your cognitive faculties is extreme. I think that people, if they don't start applying very sensible rules to their use of AI within a very short space of time, are going to lose the ability to reason about even the most basic things. They're going to lose the ability to express themselves. No one's going to be able to write an essay anymore. No one's going to be able to do creative writing.
Which is great. What's that guy from Freakonomics? Is it Freakonomics? The YouTube Constantine?
I don't know.
Something. He's a Brit.
I haven't
He's a Russian Brit. He doesn't talk like it. Although I would prefer he would talk like it. He kind of raises his kids saying, the playing field's open, guys. Go for it. Go for the jugular. Because people are too stupid.
I see what you mean.
People are soft. People are easily offended.
Yeah.
People are lazy. And he raises his kids to not be like that. And so if you raise your kids to not, it's going to be easy.
Yeah, then what is victory worth? You're going to just be like a South African politician on top of a heap of ashes.
No, that's true. That's true. Yeah, that's
so,
any case, John, let's bring it back.
Yeah.
Why do these people go onto these? They tangents?
Yeah.
They tangents. Why does Thunberg all of a sudden? In fact, why doesn't she care about what's happening in Iran? Just by the way, but why do they go on these tangents? What's happening here? Are these things actually all part of the same family? Is that what's happening? Are they hiding something from us?
If I had to hypothesize, I'd suggest this: that she has identified that there's a certain type of person that is, if you like, the enemy. Okay. And that is a person who supports free markets, for example, who allows people to make their own life choices. And she would probably argue that there's a kind of an international cabal that promotes the agenda that people like us have succumbed to. And those are people that promote consumption, you know, that promote massive use of oil. They want people, they want manufacturing to just be kind of like mushrooming out of control. Because the more fractional distillation and production of plastics and transportation of rubbish that we don't need, the more of that happens supports an oil industry that just continues to get more profit. So she sees that any interest that supports the dominant kind of agenda driving contingent, politically speaking, globally, needs to be exposed and opposed. Do you see what I mean? And so, so if she would look at you and profile you and think, okay, does this person support my agenda or the agenda of the hyper-capitalist people who want us to be dependent on oil? And anyone that she thinks is on that side needs to be opposed wherever you find them, in whatever way you can. I would say that's why they do that, because it's become a kind of a, if you like, an ideological Cold War between those in her camp that believe that people, I think, should be compelled to not enjoy the liberties of hyper-consumerism, and those who are promoting hyper-consumerism. That would be my take. What do you think?
So you reckon they profile people and then, hey, wow, can you believe it? That same person I've profiled also happens to believe in certain other things that I'm anti.
Yes.
So those same that same white bastard with a beard, old white bastard with a beard, obviously hates the planet. And because he hates the planet, he's probably the kind of guy who will be anti-Palestine.
Yeah.
So they're part of the same family, these white supremacist bastards or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever other profile is part of a family. It's always like there's a tribal thing.
Yes, because I know it's a little bit of a kind of a logical oxymoron, you know, in terms of going back to Abraham and Lot.
You know, I really don't appreciate you calling me a moron on live. I'm just saying it.
Okay.
It hurts, John.
But do you remember when Abraham gave Lot the choice? To go left or right?
Yeah.
And
Lot just kind of, his eyes were like, whoa, I'm going to grab the green, man.
Yeah. And so he basically got all they got all the oil.
Yeah.
And Abraham ended up with all the
desert.
Nachos, whatever you call them, tangerines.
Narkies.
Jaffa oranges.
Jaffa orange, what's that?
Okay, so
Narki.
The port.
John, can you say narki?
Is that actually what it's called?
Narki. Can you say
narki? Is it narki?
Narki.
Maar ek kan Afrikaans praat.
Yes! Hoor hierso. Nee, jene ou.
Dit is nie difficult nie. So the question is, why do the Jews promote oil if they don't have any? Do you know? And the Arab nations have the oil. So that's the kind of logical oxymoron in all of this. But I think the kind of counter argument is that I don't know the politically correct way of expressing this, or the way of expressing it in a way that is able to be accommodated by people in Thunberg's camp. But it's quite difficult to deny that the Jews, as a nation, are very clever. And
no, the Ashkenazi are, I think it's the group with the highest IQ, average IQ in the world.
Yeah. And
specifically the Ashkenazi Jews, I think.
Yes.
Which is 80% of, as far as I know.
I don't know.
Sephardi is 20%, I think, and then Ashkenazi about 80%. Somewhere, I can't remember the numbers, but yeah, something like that. But it's the group with the highest IQ in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if you combine the fact that they've been persecuted, and so the necessity, and you even look at the examples given in Scripture of how they find it acceptable to handle information. So for example, when Abraham went with Sarah into Egypt and then said, she's my sister. And then, of course, it was true because she was
half sister.
That's right, yeah. But they didn't want to kind of be totally overt. So there's a kind of, and of course, Jacob himself. He had lawful access to the birthright of Esau, who was born a few minutes before him. And in order to ensure that he secured what was lawfully his by contract, verbal contract with Esau over that mess of pottage, he then had to describe himself in ways that most Western juries would feel were deceptive. But actually, he was more legally accurate in describing himself as the one that was identified by his father as being the proper owner of the birthright, because he had not honoured what was legally required to be honoured by virtue of the agreement that Jacob had with Esau. So, when you look at the way that they are given examples, they're given, if you like, kind of legal precedents in the Tanakh, and how they have had to develop over millennia of being persecuted, they have found ways of handling information in a way that gives them the greatest possible advantage in any kind of competitive scenario where they find themselves. And as a consequence of their superior intellect, that could arguably be a result of persecution, having to think to survive, and that so their superior intellect and that history of persecution, they happen to be top in terms of their ability to work themselves to the top of any kind of lever, whether that be the United States government controlling foreign policy, or whether that be controlling business interests in many countries throughout the world. And of course, they kind of gravitate to power centers, which is inevitable for if you have a history of needing to think carefully to survive. Because, for example, if you just look at the whole honey trapping kind of methodology that they have to use to control foreign policy of powerful nations,
That island boy.
What's that?
The island boy.
Oh, right, yeah. So, of course, if they're surrounded by enemies that want to sweep them into the sea, they think, well, it's highly asymmetric militarily. Even if we do fight and win any one of these nations, it's going to be a war of attrition, and we might wipe out 5 of them while we get wiped out. But then we're wiped out, and the remaining 18, or however many there are, come and take the land that they've wanted for so long. So,
I have to say his name. I have to say Epstein. It's a keyword. Epstein, not the island boy. Epstein, yeah. Which could very well have been a honey trap.
Oh, inevitably, yes. There's about 3% doubt in my mind. But you see, the thing is, of course, nobody would kind of condone that kind of thing. But you have to put yourself in the shoes of a nation that, humanly speaking, has extremely low survival odds. And so people in that position have to be extremely creative. And so if you are at risk of losing the support of primary military powers globally, it's tempting to use your intellect and your honed ways of engaging with people close to the top of kind of power centers. You can't have a top of a center. I know it doesn't make sense. But it's tempting to use that to try to put people into positions where it becomes very difficult for them to make kind of national policy decisions that are not conducive to your survival, if you can put it that way. Yeah. And so because of all of this, you see people like, I don't know if that ever occurred to Thunberg. I suspect she's just a puppet of someone smarter. But people who control her camp, if you like, I think they would then see Israel as the enemy, Jews as the enemy generally, not for any necessarily anti-Semitic motivation necessarily, although of course that could be possible as well, but simply because they've identified them as the enemy because of their ability to control national policy and the habitual control of big business and ultimately governments, who then legislate in ways that produce outcomes that Thunberg's camp would be opposed to on ideological grounds. So I think that's why this whole global warming thing translates itself into promoting any kind of movement that opposes what are perceived to be the agenda and values of the camp that is alleged to be responsible for driving hyper-consumerism. That would be my analysis.
Okay. So there's, in their minds, it's all the same.
I think so, yeah.
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 All right.
Yeah. I mean, would that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's strange bedfellows, though, some of these things.
I know.
It's really strange bedfellows.
Yeah.
So, yeah, any case.
Yeah.
But, that answers the question. I mean, again, we just solved, I don't know, we're running out of trouble and problems to solve. I don't know what we're going to do. Oh, sorry, I have a cold. Sorry, let's take this. Yeah? What do you mean? Spelled wrong. Oh, black. John? Thanks. Okay. And the play button's the wrong way around. What? Okay, thanks. Bye. John, I just heard from one of our viewers, our viewer, that apparently YouTube is spelled wrong. I'm devastated by it, and the play button's going wrong. I mean, I didn't know that. Well, so this is obviously fake. Well, I mean,
well, I think, but
maybe they sent this to us, if we get more likes, one more like or two more likes, they'll send us the one with the right spelling. And the next step would be the one with the play button. Okay.
Well, I think this one is more ideologically pure, because if you think about it, it was probably, I'm not privy to how this was made, but it was probably made locally. And it probably didn't have to be transported very far.
Yeah.
So I think people should make their own ones, actually. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And just by the way, it smells like donuts, but not the kind you can eat. The ones you make with rubber tires. If you're into gay synchronized swimming or motorsports. Right, John. Thank you for tuning in. That's it for this week, this evening, because it's not 11:45 in the morning. Brand's going to put a black thing here in the background. Maybe something else for a change. Need something else. Maybe not Brand. Not Brand. Who was Brand? Brand was the leader of the Welsh, or what?
The resistance against the Roman invasion. But it failed. But it was good that it failed, because he was captured and taken to Rome as a political prisoner, probably met the Apostle Paul, or met somebody that had been converted through Paul's ministry, and then came back to the United Kingdom and brought with him Christianity. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so this is not that brand. That guy's dead, I think. Well, he's not alive, so right.
I don't know.
This is another brand. It's a friend of mine, and it happens to be a son of John. It sounds very apostolic almost. Son of John brand. Right, so thank you very much for tuning in again. And if you haven't liked or subscribed this video yet, I would like a plaque that things are spelled correctly. So maybe just give it a like or something. I don't know. Thank you very much. Cheers.